The Eagles went down to Tampa Bay and come back 3-0.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know.
What's going on, folks? This is Coach Marcus for Pro Fan Talk. Eagles took care of business down in Tampa Bay, taking care of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 25-11, and they are now 3-0. Still not a very pretty win, but as it sits right now, everything that you can think of that you might not like about what the Eagles are doing, we're just nitpicking. Once again, DeAndre Swift showed up and had a phenomenal game yesterday running the ball. Very explosive, very patient, finding the holes. Kenny Gainwell even got in there and got him some good touches in. DeAndre Swift, 16 carries, 130 yards, 8.13 yards per carry. That is phenomenal. And 2 games straight, the Eagles offensive line have established that they are a run-first offense. And thus far, nobody can stop them. So I would say keep doing what you're doing. Brian Johnson, keep running the ball with DeAndre Swift. I would like to see them get more plays, more quick pitches on short yardage so they can get him outside when they're loading the box like they normally do. They did that a couple times last night, and we still tried to slam it up on the inside, and it just wasn't working. So it would be nice just to have that option, because I know that DeAndre Swift is fast enough to get around that corner and at least race somebody to the sideline to get 2 yards. So he's fast enough and explosive enough to do that. We'll see if they do that going forward. But really, no complaints whatsoever. DeAndre Swift, like I said, 16 carries, 130 yards. Kenny Gainwell, 14 carries for 43 yards. And Jalen Hurts, 10 for 28. So it looked good. Jalen Hurts, 10 runs. A lot of those were running out of situations, not many called RPOs. And I like that. And I kind of called that earlier in the season. We are in a situation with our receivers and our running backs now where we can have more passing attempts and more rushing attempts at the same time. And in the meantime, the RPOs are going down because we have a legitimate running back number 1 who is a serious threat. DeAndre Swift is somebody teams are going to have to game plan against if they want to slow him down. They're not going to stop him. You're going to have to slow him down. And if they focus on one, you still got Dallas Goedert, you still got A.J. Brown, you still got Devontae Smith, and you still got Jalen Hurts that can get around that end and do some damage. So the Eagles offense has enough weapons across the board to give opponents' defenses major trouble. And I hope Brian Johnson finds more ways to use those pieces on the board. We looked a lot better. He looked like he was more comfortable in his game plan and some of the decisions. It did look like there were about 3 or 4 situations last night. I'm not sure if the running backs or the wide receivers were running the wrong route. I know when Jalen Hurts threw that pick trying to get to DeAndre Swift, he was expecting him to go to outside. DeAndre cut inside, and it ended up as a pick. That's a situation where they're just not in the same page. He's not comfortable in that situation because he didn't hesitate in what he did. Jalen just thought he was going to do something different. So that's just more of getting more reps in practice and more mental reps and getting in the film room and know what's happening when you change a play. Because a lot of times you can go up to the line of scrimmage, Jalen Hurts can change the play, or he can change one aspect of a play. If somebody's supposed to be running a streak and he sees something in the defense, he can change one route or have the running back do something different or the tight end do something different. So there's different variations on how you change a play. It doesn't necessarily mean the whole thing changes. And what happened with DeAndre Swift, that's kind of equivalent to making the adjustment on site. If a DB shades you to one side or the other, you got to know what to do. And it just didn't look like they were on the same page when it comes to that, and it cost them a turnover. So we want to see that go away going forward. So that's just a situation where things like that will go down the more they play together. And the more the more DeAndre Swift gets comfortable with what he's doing on that offense. Still not all the way there yet, but we're moving in the right direction. Jalen Carter was a force last night. Jordan Davis was a force last night. Both of those guys, those Georgia boys, they had a dominant performance. And this is what I was looking for that defense. Our defense has played well the first 2 games, but we let people back in the game late. This week, against the Buccaneers, we were dominant. Jalen Carter had 2 forced fumbles. Jordan Davis was in the backfield a couple times, and those guys look like they are a problem. So whenever you hear me talk about teams have to game plan, that means you have to do something extra for a particular player. And when you got Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter doing what they're doing, and you still have to worry about Fletcher Cox, you still have to worry about Hassan Reddick, you still have to worry about Brandon Graham, you still have to worry about Nolan Smith, teams are going to have a problem dealing with our defensive line. And not to mention, our linebackers played great last night. Moreau, Zach Cunningham. I got to check the stats. I didn't see Christian Ellis in there much, but Cunningham and Moreau are playing good football right now. Moreau was all over the place. He was in on that tackle for the safety. I believe he had 2 tackles for losses. Nicholas Moreau had 2 tackles for losses, and Reed Blankenship had a tackle for a loss. Tui Pelotu had a tackle for a loss. Jordan Davis had 2 tackles and 1 assist. I thought he had a tackle for loss, but maybe they gave him to the line of scrimmage, but I don't know. We had a lot of good work behind the line of scrimmage by our defensive, and that's a good problem to have. So we are making moves. I saw Nolan Smith run down Baker Mayfield, just showing his speed. And like I always say, sometimes you don't have to make a play to make a play. He just looked good. He looked fast. Our defensive line is looking good. We still got Milt Williams. We still got Josh Sweat. We have a murderer's row on our defensive line, and that young boy Jalen Carter is leading the troops. He is going to be vicious by the time the year ends, and he really gets his feet wet. I'm looking for him to really just blow up, probably about week 6 or 7, because by then he will have learned everything he needs to learn, and then it's just about getting more playtime and getting comfortable when you're in the game and getting those snaps in. But our defense looks. Mike Evans was just doing Mike Evans things last night. He caught one ball one-handed that was just incredible. He caught that 1 touchdown on Slay. Slay had pretty decent coverage on him, and it looked like he even got a hand on the ball, but Evans just came up with the play. So ain't nothing you can say about that. Mike Evans is an elite receiver. You can only slow him down. You can't stop him. So he's going to do what he does. But for the most part, our defensive secondary played very well. And again, I'm thinking Josh Jobe, that 1 penalty he had, whenever you grab somebody like that and you're that deep on your route, that means Jobe didn't, at least to me, it looked like he wasn't sure what he was supposed to be doing. So instead of letting a touchdown, he grabs the guy and he got flagged for it. And it was like 3rd and 8. That was a desperation move when you don't want somebody to beat you and give up the score. So he gave up the 1st down, but he's got to get a little bit better, and he will the more he plays. But I'm thinking you can move Bradbury back to where he was, and let's see Eli Ricks get in there and get some snaps, because he looked good, and put him to the test. Can it be much worse? And if it is, we can always put Josh Jobe back in there. But I thought Bradbury, you didn't hear Bradbury's name too much last night, and that's a good thing. That means he wasn't getting beat, he wasn't getting penalties, and he was playing solid football, and they were not going to his side. So again, I have to look at the tape a little bit more to see what we got. But for the most part, our defensive secondary played very well. Reed Blankenship was back in the game. He keeps being a smart, heads-up player. He might not be the fastest guy back there, but he's fast enough to come up and make a tackle. He's physical, and he's cerebral, and he knows where he's supposed to be. You saw that last night when he got the pick. Slay dropped another pick, and I'm going to try to keep a running tally of that. Slay should have had 6 or 7 picks last year. So let's see if we can get him to not drop interceptions, and we can get those tallies up. He's still playing at a high level, and we just got to keep it going. Hassan Reddick didn't record a tackle last night, but I know I was watching him on defense, and just like last year, the first 4 or 5 weeks last year, I believe it was the first 4 weeks, you didn't really hear much from Hassan Reddick. And he was almost there. He was almost getting to the quarterback, and the quarterback would roll out, take off, or get rid of the ball real quick. And he was like just that close. And it's the same thing this year. There was a couple plays that I saw that Hassan Reddick was almost there. And oddly enough, he even got beat to the quarterback by Jalen Carter, or Baker Mayfield rolled out, or just got rid of the ball. So he's almost there. This is the same thing he did last year. There's nothing wrong with Hassan Reddick. He might even still be hurt, but he's still a presence on that defensive line, and he'll be fine. DeAndre Swift, like I mentioned earlier, he is a beast. I wish they would find a way to leave him in the game a little bit more. Having said that, we got 14 more games left. So I don't mind mixing and matching DeAndre Swift and Kenny Gainwell. Even out the carries a little bit, as I said earlier, looking at the stats, you're talking about 16 and 14, so they're about even. I know eventually they're going to get Rashad Penny in there. Maybe he can get some hard yardage, but there's room for everybody to eat, especially if DeAndre Swift is doing what he's doing. If we can keep him right at anywhere between 15 to 20 touches a game, that's good. That's perfect. And as explosive as he's been, 8.13 yards a carry, that is phenomenal. As a running back, you're trying to get above 4. You want to get above 4. That's the standard. Because if you get 3 carries and you get 4 yards each carry, that's a first down. So that's the logic behind that. And he's getting double that. So Kenny Gainwell was 3 yards a carry, so hopefully we can get that up a little bit more. But I really think they can do some damage if they have some quick pitches or some more plays where they were trying to hit the outside corner. Everybody's crashing down because we were running inside so much, but we had so much success. I get it. Run it till they stop it. But I do wish in certain situations DeAndre Swift would be in there. It does feel like bad form that DeAndre Swift gets us all the way down to the goal line and then we do a tush push and Jalen Hurts gets the touchdown. That's nitpicking. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but I would like the kid, get in the end zone and get his touchdown. So as long as we're putting points on the board, I'm good with that. Our red zone offense is still a little suspect in my opinion. Some of the play calls down there, I just wasn't happy with. Trying to run the ball up the middle when everybody knows we're going up the middle. You can't block everybody, and sometimes we're outnumbered on the goal line. So you got to come up with something. You got to get somebody outside. I will take a running back racing a linebacker to that pylon or to that corner every time. At least we can get, back to the line of scrimmage and possibly get some more, especially if we can create, 1 or 2 steps of separation. So I want to see that more because we can do that in short yardage as opposed to just trying to gut it up the middle when they're prepared for it and they get us with the run blitz or something like that. We do have some more options. So hopefully Brian Johnson will open up that playbook just a little bit more. Crash Test Covey. The moniker of Crash Test Covey is officially dead. Last night, Britton Covey put it down as a punt returner. No ifs, ands, or buts. Crash Test Covey is dead. I called him Crash Test because he looked like he was moving too fast and he wasn't taking the time to set up his blocks to have an effective return. That is exactly what he did last night, and he was very effective. And if he keeps going like that, he's going to break one. He had 2 good returns last night, and he looked really good as a punt returner. A.J. Brown, after all of that hoopla from last week, A.J. Brown showed up, 9 catches, 131 yards on 14 targets. Just missed the touchdown. I believe that was a linebacker. I don't remember if it was a linebacker or a defensive back where they was on the goal line and Jalen Hurts tried to float it over his hands to hit A.J. Brown. It hit A.J. Brown in the hands, but he wasn't expecting it to be that high up. It was just, it's a game of inches. If Jalen Hurts didn't have that guy in his face, that'd have been an easy touchdown because he was wide open. Jalen was ready for him, but that guy came up, so he had to float it. That was the right thing to do, and we just couldn't come up with the catch. So it is what it is. Great play by the defense. You got to come up with that catch next time. So, but A.J. Brown, he was on top form last night, and he put it down. Almost got in the end zone, so I'm good with that. Olamide Zaccheaus had a good game, 2 catches for 58 yards and that touchdown. And on that touchdown, man, props to our offensive line holding their blocks for that long. And props to Jalen Hurts for staying in the pocket and not taking off and waiting for it to develop and putting the ball exactly where it had to be. He threw Zaccheaus open. He threw it over that DB, and he threw it to the only spot Zaccheaus could run to, and nobody was there. Perfectly placed ball, and he was under duress. Somebody was coming, got a hit on him. He still delivered the ball. It was in a perfect location. Ended up being 6 points. For props to everybody all around the offensive line for holding their blocks that long. Zaccheaus for getting open. Jalen Hurts for seeing it, throwing him open. Great job on that play. When I see stuff like that, I know the offense is starting to click, and I know Jalen Hurts is seeing the field better. And he's anticipating things that are going to happen. So good job. He looked good. Our O-line absolutely dominant last night. Absolutely dominant. And that's what I wanted to see. Our offensive line is the best offensive line in football, in my opinion. You can argue that. Some might say theirs is better. We are in the top 3 at least. That's a good place to be. And as long as our offensive line keeps blocking like that and DeAndre Swift keeps running through those holes, we shouldn't have no problem. And that running game opens up everything else. And that's where we want to be. And we still haven't played our best ball. So we're getting better every week. Our defense is where they need to be. And the defense is only going to get better. And the offense is only going to get in sync. So that's what I'm talking about. But that's it right now. The Eagles take this win 25-11. We are 3-0. And we are still one of the best teams in the league. Got some work to do, but we're not done. As usual, if you like this content, please hit that subscribe button. Click on that notification bell. And if you don't mind, go to my YouTube channel, select the playlist, and just play everything. Go get yourself something to eat. It'll still be there when you get back. Got to get them watch hours up. You know how we do. But I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next play.